Then Helen, daughter of Zeus, turned to new thoughts. Presently, she cast a drug into the wine whereof they drank, a drug to lull all pain and anger, and bring forgetfulness of every sorrow. Who should drink a draught thereof, when it is mingled in the bowl? On that day he would let no tear fall down his cheeks, not though his mother and his father died, not though men slew his brother or dear son with the sword before his face, and his own eyes beheld it. Medicines of such virtue, and so helpful had the daughter of Zeus, which Polydamna, wife of Thon, had given her, a woman of Egypt, where earth the grain-giver yields herbs in greatest plenty, many that are healing in the cup, and many baneful. There each man is a leech skilled beyond all humankind. Yea, for they are the race of the Paeon. Now, after she had cast in the drug, and bidden pour forth of the wine, she made answer at once, and spake unto her lord, Son of Atreus, Menelaus, fosterling of Zeus, and lo, ye sons of noble men, forasmuch as now to one, and now to another, Zeus gives good and evil, for to him all things are possible. Now, verily, sit ye down and feast in the halls, and take ye joy in the telling of tales, and I will tell you one that fits the time. Now all of them I could not tell or number, so many as were the adventures of Odysseus of the hardy heart. But what a deed this was he wrought, and dared in his hardiness at the land of the Trojans, where ye Achaeans suffered affliction. He subdued his body with unseemly stripes, and a sorry covering he cast about his shoulders. And in the fashion of a servant he went down into the wide-wayed city of the foemen. And he hid himself in the guise of another, a beggar, though in no wise such an one was he at the ships of the Achaeans. In this semblance he passed into the city of the Trojans, and they wist not who he was. And I alone knew him in that guise, and I kept questioning him. But in his subtlety he avoided me. But when at last I was about washing him, and anointing him with olive oil, and had put on him raiment, and swore a great oath not to reveal Odysseus amid the Trojans, ere he reached the swift ships and the huts, even then he told me all the purpose of the Achaeans. And after slaying many of the Trojans with the long sword, he returned to the Argives, and brought back word again of all. Then the other Trojan woman wept aloud. But my soul was glad, for already my heart was turned to go back again, even to my home. And now at the last I groaned for the blindness that Aphrodite gave me, when she had led me thither away from mine own country, forsaking my child and my bridal chamber and my lord, that lacked not aught whether for wisdom or yet for beauty. All right, we have a very complicated passage on our hands today, and I'm going to do my best to lay this out in the way I understand it. I'm going to repeat my oft-repeated phrase. I am not an expert on this, nor, I think, can one be in so much as having a definitive opinion, because Helen is such a complicated figure in Greek mythology and history that there have been so many different interpretations of her, both in terms of her motives, the scenarios and situations in which placed her in one arena or another. So let's just break down what is happening here today, and then we'll talk about why it's so complicated. As we've been discussing over the last couple days, Telemachus, Pisistratus, Menelaus, they're all grieving, they're all experiencing sorrow at the loss, not only of Odysseus, but mostly of Odysseus, but everyone that has fallen at Troy and the other places along the way to getting home. Menelaus particularly is touting the bravery and the loss of Odysseus without specifically saying that he died, acknowledging that he is just no longer, not necessarily no longer alive, but just no longer present for one reason or another that no one seems to have the answer for. Helen comes in. She's already here. She came in a couple days ago, but she intervenes in everyone's mourning and grief and drugs them. She basically puts in a potion from Egypt where, what does it say here? The drug would lull all pain and anger and bring forgetfulness of every sorrow. Whoso should drink a draught thereof, ... would let no tear fall down his cheeks for one day. Even if that person's mother and father died, or brother or son were killed right in front of their face, basically. And this passage, I think, is very emblematic of how complicated of a character she is, how she's presented, and the tense space allowed for interpretations for her. Because after she drugs everyone, she essentially takes over the narrative and recounts a memory of Odysseus. Now, why is she intervening? What is her purpose? Does she have a larger motive? Is it benevolent to just calm their sorrows so that they can talk plainly? Does she have a greater need to control the narrative? Because what makes it hard to say one way or the other is the interpretations of the entire Trojan War, her role in it, or her culpability, her accountability, her responsibility, whether she was abducted or whether she left Menelaus to go to Troy in the first place, whether she fell in love with Paris, whether he kidnapped her. These all add different dimensions and ways of looking at things. So it's interesting that she is inserting herself here to tell a story about Odysseus, and one that in itself is complicated. She is placing herself physically in Troy amongst the women and the people there, and that she had witnessed Odysseus come in. Now, Odysseus being of the Greeks, Helen being on the side of the Trojans, they are at war with one another. She recognizes Odysseus, even though none of the Trojan people do. She vows or makes an oath to not reveal that it's him, essentially allowing him to do his little secret spy stuff, kill some Trojans, and then get out. And at the end of the passage saying that the other Trojan women wept aloud, but my soul was glad, for already my heart was turned to go back again, even to my home. Now, how do we take this? Do we take this for surface value, that this is how she felt the entire time she was in Troy? Or is her drugging these men and inserting her own story about Odysseus some bigger political move of reestablishing herself as an autonomous figure within the Sparta Empire? Saying, is she kind of giving the excuse of like, well, yes, I was there. I can't deny that I was there, but I was always there, kind of, maybe not against my will, I don't know, but definitely my heart has never left Sparta. It's never left the Greeks. As soon as I saw Odysseus and swore not to reveal his disguise, quote, I groaned for the blindness that Aphrodite gave me when she led me thither away from mine own country, forsaking my child and my bridal chamber and my lord. So she's saying that maybe because of Odysseus, she's thinking of these things, or she's always been thinking of these things, and that's why she's aiding Odysseus here. But she's not really doing anything. I mean, she's just not revealing his disguise. She's not paving the way for him to do some secret spy stuff. But she's also not stopping him. So is she on the Trojan side? Is she on the Greek side? You can see how some authors, some translators, some scholars can interpret her as a kind of power hungry or someone that's only out for themselves. I don't know that it's even as clear cut as that. I think she is just a very complicated person that maybe has her own motives or is just trying to find her way through the situations she's found herself in. I mean, she's been granted all of this mortal beauty, and that creates a odd dynamic in which you have to navigate the world. I mean, to the point that friggin' wars are being started over you. I could see arguments for how that would corrupt someone's mind to make them power hungry, or that it becomes a very difficult way to navigate how you live life. I'm not subscribing to one or the other. I like living in the tension, but it does make today's passage very difficult to interpret. And I think all we can really do is just see what inarguable things come from this. How is Telemachus going to respond to hearing a story about Odysseus? will her story here change the trajectory of Telemachus's story at all? There's only one way to find out, and that's to continue here tomorrow, so join me here then, won't you? Okay, goodbye. Odyssey is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. The show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Odyssey, written by Homer. Theme song by Neuroflow. You can support this show and other shows like it by going to patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.